This is part two. After our introduction, this is now Timmy's section of education where he is going to be applying what he's learned through communication and education through school and other resources that he's had. So tell me about mental wellness and what your perspective is. And then from there, we'll talk about your personal experience growing up with your mom and your dad experiencing traumatic things.
Okay, so mental wellness is very important to the human body. It can affect our environmental health, like how we act around other people, as well as our social and physical state. It can affect a lot of things and have bias towards many things just due to some actions, whether that be peer pressure, friends, or just like thoughts like depression or happiness. And then what was your other question?
How do you deal with, trauma, like when things happen in our home and it's intense and I'm going through a moment of frustration and pain, whether it's from surgeries or whether it's just from having nightmares or having a bad morning. Your comfort and the way that you've emotionally been able to cope is second to none. So I just asked what that's like. So for you with the family, what was that like?
I mean, I try to stay positive and calm about it because I don't want to make myself feel bad when already someone else is feeling bad, so they have to make me feel better, and then I can't make them feel better in a while of time. So it's just this time lapse. So I try to stay positive and calm about, if someone's having a bad day, bad morning, bad evening. So, next.
Anxiety. What you know about anxiety, personal experiences, how you've seen it with me. What is that like?
Anxiety can be multiple things, ranging from like I gotta get the surgery done and I don't want to do it, from just why, with anxiety, it's like it can be either that or it can be like a plethora of other things that come in. It's like I'm scared that something might go wrong with the product or something.
Yeah. So a lot of that for your personal, like things that make you anxious and how you're able to calm yourself. What does that look like?
I mean, when I usually am anxious, I try to either like fix that anxiety, whether that be like I didn't know an assignment was due today. So it's like I stay silent about it and, work on it in the background. And I'm usually just calm about my anxiety and like am not really open towards it. But I know that it's like I still am anxious in sometimes.
So you're just acknowledging, I have an anxious feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do this to, manage it,
Mm-hmm.
rather than allowing it to succumb you.
Yes.
And is that a learned behavior or is that a taught behavior?
I feel like it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because it's like with taught behaviors, it's like self-taught. For me, it's like with some assignments, it's like, wait, oh, I gotta do this and then also this in a certain amount of time. But then I also feel like it's somewhat inherited by you guys as well, and like supporting me with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of my experiences, I felt a lot of guilt for a while because you and your dad had to watch me endure and go through so much. Um, I had asked you a question like, how do you remember me? And it was almost like, wow, I don't know if I'm glad that's all you remembered or I'm sad that, that was the image. But I'm blessed no matter what. And we communicate, so well in our emotions that I feel like there's nothing that we aren't able to work through. And if it's not something we can work through, we can give time the opportunity to do what's necessary when we can
Mm-hmm.
return to it. Um, I absolutely know how important it is for children to understand that they are not the reason that their parents are having mental stress. They're not the outburst, the problems, the nightmares, the instability, the mood imbalances, the up and down, the bipolar like roller coaster that, flows constantly. That is not, that's a projection, and it no longer needs to be projected onto the family members. And if it is, then help yourself and your family with therapy, because those things are so traumatic. They cause more issues that you're going to have to work through, talk through later in life. Um, Trauma is not a veteran thing. It is traumatic things. It's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And even in his light as a child, growing up, now that he's a young man, he knows now when things are traumatic, nope, that's gonna, leave a mark. And it's not necessarily a mark on the skin, it's a mark on me in my mind, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Any other words of wisdom to the kids out there living with parents that have post traumatic stress, um, or they're under just stress, or have a mental illness that may or may not be unmedicated? How they can stay positive rather than just the calm?
I mean, ways to stay positive is like for me it's like the way that I stay positive is talking to friends, just expressing myself, and it makes me feel it's like, oh, like I'm being acknowledged when the times aren't of the best. So I feel like verbal communication is a good way for it to happen, except like instead of having a full on tantrum or
Right, right.
just breakdown.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Any other things, verbal communication, outside things?
like also like physical communication and physical activities can help like ease your mind off of it as well. Like off of like the bad subject, the trauma. So it's like maybe just exercising could take your mind off of it. Or
What's Yeah, yeah. So what you don't, you're not heavy into the gym and things like that,
mm-hmm.
but you actually are heavy into meditation and things
Mm-hmm.
and mindfulness. So what are those things that you do? I know you call them mental health breaks or brain breaks. So
Mm-hmm.
what is that like for you? Because they don't have that. So
I mean, usually in my like in my breaks, I just stop and like kind of realize where I am and just for around 15-20 minutes just not think about anything, just go just calm, don't have like any negative thoughts. You and I'm not necessarily that you can't have any thoughts at all, but just try to filter out the negatives and fill it in with positives.
I am absolutely in love with you always. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always so, so proud to be your mom, in good and bad and in between. Your spirit is amazing. And I love all that you do for your friends. Timmy and his mental wellness actually set up a table for all of the kids that didn't have tables or rejected from tables at his school, because he knew empathetically what it felt like from his own trauma of bullying, that people don't know how to react. So having an open arm and already advocating at 14 years old and younger really, really makes me feel amazing that my hard work and the things that you've watched me do are playing out in your life, and you're making the world a better place. So kudos to you and your mechanical engineering life, and I
Okay.
hope you do minor in psychology, because you'd be one hell of a mental health professional for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. Blessings and love.